I'm Lauren with Pack Hacker, and in this video we're taking a detailed look at the Aer City Sling 3, which I've been testing for the last 2 weeks. Let's dive in. If you're familiar with previous versions of this sling, then this is going to look pretty familiar to you. It has that kind of like rectangular boxy design, but this one looks a little bit more narrow. So I think that they kind of redesigned it to be a little bit more tapered, which based off of what they said about this line, which is to be a little bit sleeker, then that doesn't necessarily surprise me. I do like this though. I think that, you know, in my opinion, the other one was a little bit too boxy for my taste. What I like about this one is it does have like a little bit more of a like narrow design. There are a few design features that have changed from the previous version too, but I'm just going to kind of walk you through this bag in general. So we have a 1680D Cordura ballistic nylon material as per usual, but it also comes in X-Pac black and ultra black as well. So if you want something that's going to be like a little bit lighter, then that's definitely an option. I like this one. It's a little bit less crunchy. The X-Pac and Ultra materials are a little bit too crunchy sounding for me personally, but those are really good options as well. We also have YKK zippers, Duraflex hardware, and then we have little Hypalon accents all throughout too. So these are Hypalon zipper pulls. We've got Hypalon zipper pulls here, and then we've got a little paracord zipper pull on the back here. But we do have two buckles, which I'll talk about in a second when we look at the harness system. But another design change that they made was instead of having like sides that you could, the compression sides that you could tighten down with a buckle or a like adjustment thing, they made it so that it would automatically make this sleek every time you put the bag on. I found that this worked better when the bag was full, for sure. If it wasn't as full, it just kind of like, I don't know, it stayed like a little bit wider than everything that I had in there. But you know, as you start to pack this thing out, all the weight will kind of pull that forward a little bit and give it a little bit more of a like sleek design on the sides there. This is a 2-liter capacity sling. I would say once I got everything packed into the interior, which I'll show you in a minute, it started to feel a little bit smaller than 2 liters for me personally. So we'll take a look at that, but in terms of the outside, it is pretty sleek, and we've got this top carry handle. It's like slightly padded. It's a nice feature. I didn't really find myself using it, but it's there if you need it or want it. The harness system is also pretty simple, not really a surprise there. We just have a basic like nylon strap here. I didn't find myself needing any additional padding or anything like that. This was perfectly fine for me. By the time this thing got packed out, I have it pretty much as packed as I could get it, and it was still comfortable for me like that. We also have 2 buckles on either side. So the nice part about this was if I had the sling on, whether it was on my back or my front, I didn't have to like flip it around to get to one of these buckles to quickly take it off or put it on. So I liked having access on either side, and the buckles being right here meant that they weren't like in the way if I wanted to wear this with like a backpack or something. They wouldn't be like butting up against the back panel of that. Speaking of back panels, we also have a little bit of mesh padding here. So that was really nice. I think it just added a little bit of carry comfort. The straps are not stowable like they have been in the past. I didn't really find myself missing that. I think, you know, the harness system in terms of like the upgrades from the previous version, I really like what they've done here. But even without the context of the previous version, I still like the way that this fits and feels on my body. We also have a little loop here where if you wanted to hang this sling up either at your house or off the side of a table or something like that, you know, using like a hero clip or something, that is definitely an option. But otherwise, I honestly rarely noticed it was even there. Like I mentioned, the aesthetic of the sling, it's definitely a lot slimmer than the previous version or the previous iteration of this. But for a 2-liter sling, it just feels like it looks large on me. And it definitely feels bigger too. Like it takes up a lot of space on my front. If I move it along to my back, I think it looks way more natural on me personally on the back. So it's kind of depending on, you know, your own frame and how you prefer it to fit. It could start to look a little bit chunky, and that's definitely just like a result of this design here. I also found that it was a little bit hard to adjust when the bag was actually on me. So there is a little buckle adjustment. Right now it's up here. If I wanted to make this a little bit tighter, then it just kind of was hard to like actually get it to cooperate. I could also make it a little bit looser. And it was just kind of like, I felt like I was like reaching weirdly because I couldn't, the way that I have it over this one shoulder, you know, it was harder to get to it over here too. You know what I mean? You're kind of like moving my body a little bit weird. So what I would do is I would just take it off, adjust, put it back on, and usually I can find an adjustment pretty quick with it. If you're finding this video helpful, hit subscribe so we can keep making content to help you travel smarter. We're gonna look at the secondary compartments on this now. There's really only two to pay attention to. So we actually, on this back panel here, have a little zippered pocket, and this is a good spot for like a passport wallet or something. This is a pretty thick one, so depending on how thick your passport wallet is, it might be a little bit hard to get something in there and have it like be comfortable, because this will kind of start to cut into that space in the main compartment. I also, as a little spoiler of the inside, what I mostly did, because I use this every day versus like on trips specifically, I put my phone back here. So I found this to be the best spot for it, especially because this front pocket is just too skinny and I didn't want to have to open the main compartment every time and kind of like rearrange my gear in there. So this is primarily where I kept that. I have a regular size iPhone, but a Pro Max will fit in there too. You just have to kind of finagle it a little bit. So that's there. I'm going to leave that back there. Actually, no, let me take that out. So looking at the front compartment, this actually is a dual zipper design. So this is like their previous design. So you can open it from either side to get access to this compartment. That's really great if you're like, it's for ambidextrous use. So if you have your sling, you know, over your left or your right shoulder, you're always going to have a zipper easily within reach, and then both zippers are have their own like Hypalon zipper garage to add weather protection. These are YKK reverse coil like AquaGuard zippers, so that's some weather protection there. These are just reverse coil on the top here, no AquaGuard. That's not unusual, but also like this side's going to be facing up most likely, so you know, water could theoretically get in here a lot easier than through this front compartment. But in terms of the actual front compartment storage, if you open this up, this is where the key leash is. So this one is like, it's long enough, but I found myself struggling. Like I didn't feel like it was too long, but I found myself struggling to unlock my door while my keys were still attached. So I did largely either take the sling off before I got to my door or take the keys off, but that's pretty easy to do. The main thing that I noticed with this compartment is that it's just so small. Like with my phone, it technically fits in here, but it's not really gonna close over it, you know? Like I guess it technically kind of can, but it's gonna be really hard to finagle things in and out of that very often. I found this compartment really to be the best for small items. So like I'm talking like chapstick or headphones or like earbuds, something like that. Even my keys, which I recognize I have chunkier keys than a lot of people who are minimalist travelers. Even these in here were a little bit weird to fit in there every time. It fit really nicely when I just dumped them in just now. But if I had this sling on, took my keys out, and then put them back in, it was harder to find a configuration that actually worked so that I could like get them in and then zipped, because you have to utilize, since the zipper's right in the dead center, you have to utilize the bottom space and the top space if you have something that's a little bit larger in there. So I would say this pocket, it's not inherently bad. It's just a pocket that is going to be very specific use cases that work well for it. And I find that with this kind of sling in general, if you don't have the right gear, it can feel a little bit too crammed and packed, which makes it hard to very quickly and easily get to your items. So it really does come down to what gear you already have and plan on putting in it. Now onto the main compartment. So this is also a dual zipper design, so you can put it on either side instead of having like two zippers on or one zipper on each side. This is two zippers in the same spot, but you can put it either up or down. You know, these don't have a zipper garage or anything that they go into, but they do unzip a little bit further down the pack. So they zip like to, I would say like halfway down, maybe even closer to the bottom. Oh, there's also a loop here. Forgot to mention that earlier, but there's, you know, similar to a hanging loop here, there's a loop here you could either like attach gear or something, and that's also on the other side. So you can use a carabiner, attach something, or, you know, use it to hang a hook or hang something off a hook or whatever you want to do. Stays out of the way if you're not using it though, so no worries. But with this like main compartment space, you can open it like decently wide to get a good look at everything. I did find that it was harder to open it really wide when I had the bag on. Like I felt like sometimes when I would look in there, I was just like, oh no, where's my stuff? Like, because I just couldn't remember what pocket I put it in or something, and I couldn't really see it super well. I'm gonna put the keys actually back in this compartment just to kind of give you an idea of what that looks like as well in the main compartment. So, you know, it starts to, you can see my keys are sort of like butting out that way. So that does cut into space as well. I also, you know, you can get this pretty flat. So if you were to pack out gear and have it like basically as wide as that base would possibly allow, this is kind of the profile that it ends up being. And so it does start to look a little bit more rectangular. I really found myself utilizing these pockets and not really much else. So in the bottom here, I have some hand lotion, and then I also have some gloves. These are really light liner gloves for like kind of mid-season situations or transition seasons. I also have in the liner pockets, this is where I wanted to put my items mostly because it was easier to find them instead of just kind of dumping them in this pit. So in here I have AirPods, and then I have a cable which goes with a portable or a battery bank that I have back there. So I guess I'll just show you that. There's this like little back panel where you can slide something behind there. That's a good spot for a battery bank. You could put your phone back here if you're feeling crazy, but that to me is too many layers to get to my phone. So I preferred to have it in that back pocket like I mentioned. The sling is too small or it's not tall enough to fit a Kindle or like a tablet or a Switch or something like that. It's also not like super wide once you actually get in here. So that was really for like thinner items like this you wanted to keep out of the way. You could also keep like your passport wallet back here if you wanted to do that. It's a little bit more secure. Or there's a zippered pocket. This is a self-locking zipper, so it won't open on you. There is space in here where this is a passport size notebook. A passport will fit in here as well. So that adds a little layer of security, which I personally like. Like that's definitely, if I had it outside of a passport wallet, that's where I would put it. And then on the back here, we have, this is where I put my wallet, and then I went to IKEA, so I had to bring my measuring tape, my very old measuring tape. But I think the other thing oh, I have chapstick in here too. The other thing to kind of pay attention to is that these pockets, like this mesh over here, is a little bit shorter than this one on this side, which means that if I wanted to put this wallet like here, it's kind of my gut reaction was to just like put it on the right. It's too tall to like comfortably close the sling every single time. So I ended up putting it sideways on this back pocket, because this back pocket is also like these two pockets are the same size. This pocket's similar to that size. You know, it's a little bit smaller, but you can see where the stitching is, where the pockets actually end. So for me, these pocket size differences, like once I figured out where my gear went in here, it was nice because there was usually like a pocket that fit what I needed perfectly. But if that organization didn't work for me, those pockets kind of would have been useless, which really goes for any sling that has pockets in it. If you can't use them, then you can't use them. The last thing I want to mention is just with this gear back here, the way that this like lip kind of comes over these pockets, it can be a little bit harder to get to them, especially this back pocket here. So that just takes a little bit of getting used to, but otherwise, you know, pretty functional on the inside. So there you have it, the Aer City Sling 3. Thanks for keeping it here at Pack Hacker, your guide to smarter travel, and we'll see you in the next one.